6 p.m. in Jindom and same time right here in the economic capital, Douala. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining me on the 6 p.m. edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinoxe Television. Tonight, I will be taking you to the Kondangi neighborhood here in Yaoundé Center region of Cameroon. Over 40 families are now stranded after their houses were demolished. They are accusing a certain Rita Vongo of duping them. And over in sports, the indomitable Lions of Cameroon have been defeated by Uzbekistan with a score of 2-0. Sports analysts say if something is not done, then the Lions risk being defeated early enough in the course of the World Cup that we played in Qatar. Details and more in this edition of this newscast. Once more, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for staying with us. We begin this newscast in the southwest region, precisely in Kumba in the Memed division, where a man was discovered hanging on a mango tree around Treasury Street in Kumba. Felix Nkongo Oben was seen dead this morning, and the circumstances surrounding his death is still unclear. Details with our reporter, Smart Chikan Gabriel.
It's in a sad mood that the inhabitants of Treasury Street in Kumba, Meme Division, ended their week. A businessman by name Felix Nkongo Oben was discovered dead by hanging Friday morning. The circumstances leading to his death still remains unclear, as a witness confirms.
This morning, the Cavalry Good News Radio gave all the news that there is someone that hung behind the Ecobank Street that people could not identify him. That's when we got the news. They will get up. I took my bike and I carried my junior man that were looking. All of us were together. We ran to the scene. By reaching, they will discover that is the man.
It is alleged that Felix Nkongo Oben was faced with spiritual problem at his residence and decided to move to an uncle's residence on Thursday night. By the side of his lifeless body, the sum of 150,000 francs CFA was discovered.
Mr. Oben started to behave abnormal. It was at least from 45 o'clock that she finally left the store while open. Until then, it was at 6 to 7 o'clock we realized that the store was open. We decided to lock the store. So from then, going to 8 o'clock, we decided to take a step that we would not sit in waiting for him. We started calling his phone. And his wife was not even around. He was going to Douala. So as we called his phone, she answered the phone and he told us that he is behind banquet hall with some business partner that they are discussing something. So we said, okay, we are going to come there now. By approaching there, we called him, we not pick the phone. We called back the wife at Douala, reporting back that we have called your husband, he's not picking the call. He said, why that call? That we should come at Bokom. That now she is at Bokom. We drive to Bokom. Reaching the Bokom, we don't find him. We called back the wife. The wife said, we should wait. She said that he is taking his bath, that somebody that is putting up white will come and give us the keys.
Before the body could be removed, some members of the Bafo Traditional Council had to perform some rituals to appease the gods. Late Felix Nkongo Oben is a native of Kembong village in Mayu Division, residing in Kumba, Meme Division of the Southwest region.
And from Kumba in the southwest region, we now move to Kondangi in Yaoundé Center region of Cameroon. Over 40 families are now stranded after their houses were demolished. They are accusing a certain Rita Vongo of duping them after they were told that the land belonged to her. Details with our reporter, Ann Abila.
Some inhabitants of Yaoundé, precisely a locality called Kondangi, are lamenting over the demolition of their houses and shops. They say they were surprised in the early hours of the morning to see bulldozers breaking down houses on the demand of a certain Madame Rita Vongo.
En 2020, Dame Vogo est en justice avec 19 personnes.
Those affected explain that the land squabble began since 2020. Madame Vogo has been in court with over 19 occupants of the area. After her death recently, the son of Rita Vogo took over the court case and proceeded to the demolition. The victims complain that they were deceived by the late Rita Vogo.
Elle nous a dit que c'est elle qui est déjà propriétaire.
She told them she was the landlady and was selling her land from 2 million francs. Interested persons paid her the amount.
J'ai fait tout pour lui donner son argent.
Her son too is being accused of being a fraudster.
Vous me dites que, père, pour toi, entre toi et moi, il n'y a pas de problème.
He told me you and I can talk it out. We went and saw a notary. I took my retirement benefits and paid him 3.5 million francs.
Je venais de prendre la retraite. J'ai pris mes économies de la prime qu'on m'a donnée à la séparante.
Those whose houses were demolished are still in shock, questioning the validity of the land certificate of the Mvogo family. The affected people are wishing that the law takes its course.
And from Kondangi, we now move to Lendi, a neighborhood in the Douala 5 subdivision. Inhabitants are protesting against an attempt to seize portions of their lands which they built on 11 years ago. Despite having land titles, a certain Mr. Pensa is claiming the hectares of lands belongs to him, and the lawyer of the accused says a court order gave ownership rights to his clients. Details with Innocent Aze.
A land dispute is splitting the population of Lendi in the Douala 5 subdivision in two factions. One faction is resisting what the term illegal sale of their land. They have been occupying as far back as 2011 by a certain Mr. Mpesa Jacques, who is claiming ownership. That she bought a piece of land in Lendi in 2011 from Mr. Chokonde with valid documents. She decided to come out and protect her piece of land because of the illegal sale ongoing.
Donc je suis obligé d'être là. J'ai eu l'info que certains clients achètent même sans descendre sur le site. Ils achètent ce terrain même étant au bureau.
Others also advanced testimonies.
Voici mes papiers. Voici tous mes papiers. Ils veulent seulement finir les gens à petit feu.
J'ai acquis ce terrain, ça fait déjà bientôt 10 ans.
These persons are bothered why this problem is surfacing just now after the death of their recognized seller, Mr. Chokonde, 3 years ago. They suspect a foul play.
Je n'ai jamais vu quelqu'un qui est venu me demander que qu'est-ce que tu fais sur ce terrain. C'est maintenant que je vois les gens.
According to the lawyer defending Pesa Jacques,
il y a eu Chokonde, Dipita Samuel,
these 3 persons signed an accord that stipulated Mr. Mpesa will have 31 hectares as owner of the lands, while Chokonde as the financer will have 31 hectares and the Dipita will have 15 hectares. It was only in 2019 when the land certificates were established that Chokonde was noted with a land certificate of a 44-hectare piece of land. Mpesa Jacques never saw his land certificate till the death of Chokonde. Dipita had 20 hectares. He wrote to the powers that be and the administrative court in Douala for rectification of the land certificates belonging to Chokonde and Dipita. Actions by the Douala Administrative Court favored Mpesa Jacques as rightful owner of the lands. Those whose lands are being threatened to be sold by Mpesa Jacques have promised legal actions to preserve their properties. They implore authorities to investigate this land dispute carefully for justice to be served correctly.
Innocent Azer reporting there. And students of the University of Marwa have showcased different techniques that can help boost the production of cotton without affecting the environment. This was during a workshop organized by the students in the presence of officials of the Ministries of Agriculture and that of small and medium-sized enterprises in Marwa, chief town of the Far North region. Details with our lady Malaglari.
Protect the environment while maintaining cotton production is the main objective of research students from the University of Marwa. For long-term production, they request the use of fertilizers and pesticides.
Le biopesticide à base d'huile de neem. Donc,
pesticide made of neem oil. That is, we advise them to use pesticides from organic product than using chemical product. This will better protect the environment.
Qui protège l'environnement et le consommateur.
With the introduction of this new method, there is hope for local production. Another innovation presented is the use of machines for the treatment of cotton.
Une fois qu'on a le coton produit,
once we have cotton produced from organic pesticides and chemical pesticides, we advise the use of a device which will make better the cotton to obtain the best quality.
Donner aux artisans du fil de meilleure qualité.
This innovation is aimed at ameliorating the quality of local production and to be competitive on the local and international markets. We want to increase the number of local craftsmen in Cameroon and the region in particular, so we can better compete with West African countries. At the end of the practical session, participants were able to approve of the creative work of these research students.
In the same vein, the European Parliament has passed a law banning the importation of deforestation products by members of the European Union. This law represents a victory for civil society organizations who have been fighting hard to combat against deforestation, and that of local communities who have been suffering from massive deforestation, especially that of the Congo Basin. Details with AC Lucilienko.
Of Global Forest Watch revealed that in 2021, the world lost 25.3 million hectares of its tree cover. Much of the deforestation is taking place in Africa at the rate of about 4.4 million hectares annually. And despite the greater efforts to save trees, Africa's forest cover continues to drop. The Congo Basin, cutting across 6 countries, is one of the most affected areas.
Just between 2000 and 2020, 200 square miles of forested area was destroyed, likely destroyed, to make way for industrial rubber plantation in 6 African countries, which include Cameroon, which together exported like 5,300 million worth of natural rubber to the EU in 2022.
To step up the conservation of the area's rich biodiversity, the European Union Parliament has passed a law prohibiting the importation of products linked to deforestation. Beef, wood, palm oil, soy, coffee, and cocoa are covered by the law. Environmentalists criticize the exclusion of rubber, but add that the law is an important step.
Because Greenpeace Africa, with this indigenous community, has been campaigning over years, and even and just last year, again in August, we make a protest in front of European Union delegation in Cameroon, together with indigenous community, local organization, asking them to include rubber as a care risk community in the new regulation. So, seeing it being done, we are really happy.
Conservationists are now urging African governments, including that of Cameroon, to take greater steps to protect local communities and biodiversity.
And we do hope that the government of Cameroon will follow the same step and take the necessary need to preserve the community.
Meantime, green organizations and activists have said they are encouraged by the European Union Parliament law to continue maintaining pressure to save nature ahead of the United Nations Climate Change Summit COP27, November 2022.
And out of Cameroon, African leaders have held a meeting in New York. They have agreed to address all the irregularities affecting the country or the continent. They also agreed that they will impose sanctions on Guinea's junta for not returning to civilian rule. Once more, AC Luyengu with our international page.
in the presence of Guinea's military junta, Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya. West African leaders were in a meeting in New York on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly. In the meeting, the leaders agreed to impose gradual sanctions on Guinea's junta over its inflexibility in setting a date to return to civilian rule. The leaders also agreed to lay sanctions on a list of people linked to Guinea's junta who they would identify soon. The West Africa bloc has been struggling with a string of military coups in the region in the past 2 years. ECOWAS has lifted tough sanctions imposed on Mali's military regime, accepting a March 2024 return to civilian rule, but Mali and Guinea remain suspended from ECOWAS bodies. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has called on every United Nations General Assembly member to send a clear message to Russia that it must stop every nuclear threat in the war in Ukraine. Blinken used a council session on Thursday to criticize Russia's invasion and press other countries to join the Washington's forceful condemnations of the conflict. The Security Council has held dozens of contentious meetings on Ukraine since the war began in February, but Thursday meeting had special status. It was held during the annual UN General Assembly gathering of the world leaders and brought multiple foreign ministers to the table. Niger's President Mohamed Bazoum granted an interview to France 24 and RFI. Bazoum expressed concerns about the worsening security situation in Mali and the jihadist threat hanging over the Malian town of Meneka in the wake of France's military withdrawal.
La situation dans l'espace de nos trois pays sur le plan sécuritaire s'est dégradée, c'est incontestable.
He also discussed the case of 46 Ivorian soldiers who are detained in Mali, accused of being mercenaries. Bazoum recalled that Ivorian's president Alassane Ouattara had worked hard for the lifting of ECOWAS sanctions against the Malian authorities.
And over in Uganda, 6 new Ebola cases have been detected, raising the total number to 7 with a death toll of 12 persons. Health officials say Uganda will draw from its previous experience to counter the latest outbreak. They say COVID-19 treatment facilities will be transformed into Ebola management centers. Uganda has experienced previous outbreaks of the highly fatal disease. The last reported cases was in 2019 with at least 5 persons who died. Ebola is spread through contact with body fluids. It can take several days for symptoms to appear. The disease causes both internal and external bleeding. There is no approved vaccine for Ebola. And over to sports, Southwest flag bearer Victoria United alias Opopo and Aigle de Littoral or Aigle de Mungo from the Littoral region have both qualified for the Elite 2 matches that will take place soonest. Our sportsman Davison Maimo monitored the ambience after that celebration, after that victory.
The ecstasy was high. The euphoria aplenty.
L'homme de la vie de Limbe, c'est pas notre moment, c'est pour nous joie. Nous, de Sud-Ouest, de Paco, département de Paco, est vraiment content. Félicitations au Popo.
As Southwest jubilated after more than a decade without a football team in the Elite 1 or 2 National Football League, picking up an Elite 2 ticket, beating NGV Onchang from the West region by 2-1.
Incredible! One people, one power! One people, one power! Everybody is happy, as you can see from the crowd. We're happy to have the second division back in the city.
Limbe is happy. All of us, we are happy. I am happy in particular.
I am happy, the population is happy because we are in the Fekafoot Southwest to see that the population should be happy.
Imaginez, the population is happy. We are happy. We are grateful. I said it from the onset. We saw it coming and it has come.
Victoria United team management say the support from the region was a huge booster.
I want to thank Her Excellency, the Minister of Secondary Education. I want to thank the Senator Bella Mokichas. I want to thank all the other dignitaries and people who have encouraged me in one way or the other to get to this achievement. To thank the supporters, because they stood by us throughout this tournament, and today we have delivered what they wanted, the elite football in Southwest region.
With the qualification ticket, the people of the Southwest region and Limbe in particular are ready to begin watching elite football.
And still in sports analysts and local coaches in Cameroon say a quick screening must be done before Cameroon travels to Qatar for the upcoming World Cup that is to take place there. They made the declaration after a lowly ranked Uzbekistan shocked Cameroon by beating the Lions 2-0 in a pre-World Cup international friendly that took place today at exactly 7 a.m. Smarji Kangebo spoke to a coach and compiled this report.
A frustrating start of their campaign as they prepare for the FIFA World Cup in Qatar later this year. The indomitable Lions, who were playing in their second official match this year against the 77th ranked team in the world, Uzbekistan, were expected to have a smooth game. But what went wrong with the team?
From all indication, it shows that we still need to work at the level of defense, midfield, because when you see the left and the right defense is good, the attack line still needs some work. I think players like Zambo Agisa need to come back into the team, and you will also need mature players and Sients who can also drive the team forward. Cameroon have a kind of system that plays with the three defense. It is not easy. It's not easy to use that kind of system professionally to play. I know they are professionals, but we really need to work on our team again.
Some sports analyst and coach says the defeat wasn't a surprise to them.
I'm not surprised with the score because Uzbekistan is a team. It's an underdog team, but they have already beaten 3 African teams. You see, last time I think they beat Ghana, and this time they had to beat Cameroon 2-0. Yeah, they had to use their chances, their opportunities. Cameroon had chances to play. They were passing the balls, but Uzbekistan had more finishing advantage.
The head coach, Rigobert Song Bahanak, who experimented a 3-4-3 system of play, has also been accused of not using the right players in his formation. What then is the way forward for the Lions?
The coach needs to go back to his drawing board in the past matches and see who were those making their names, doing well, trying to make things happen into the team. We should not change the first 11. We have a particular team that have been winning matches, almost about 6 matches that Cameroon have won with our good players. We have players like Zambo and Gisa that need to come back into the list. I will still repeat that. We have players like Kunde Malong that don't need to stay on the bench, even though the coach is the one who draws his lineup. But for all indication, we need to really work on our defense line.
Cameroon will take on South Korea next Tuesday as they continue their Asia tour, and many supporters are expecting a better performance than the one they put up against Uzbekistan, with very few attempts at goal by the players.
And that's it for the 6 p.m. edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinoxe Television. Thank you so much for your keen attention. Up next is Equinoxe Soir.
Equinoxe Télévision, au-delà de l'image, nous rendons compte.